Hello and welcome to the Garden of Truth. Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. Sorry for the background noise, but I'll try to speak up so you can hear me. Today I just wanted to talk about, I wanted to go into the pillars of Islam, and the first of them being Shahada, that's the witnessing of faith, or witnessing of the oneness of God and the messengership of Muhammad. And then that's kind of your entrance into the path of Islam. And then after that, you usually learn how to do the prayer, and that's 5 daily prayers. And I'll talk more about that later. And then with that is also the zakah, which is almsgiving to the needy. And then you have the pilgrimage to the house, the Kaaba, which is in Arabia, and it's also a reference in the Bible. This is the place where Abraham and his eldest son built this Kaaba together. And it's a pilgrimage that the Muslims make once in a lifetime, if possible. And then beyond that is Ramadan. And that's the one I wanted to talk about today, because we're about to start Ramadan. And that's the month of fasting. And so what it says in the Quran about Ramadan, it says, fast as those who have fasted before you. And so myself, I was raised Catholic, and we had Lent. Lent would be the equivalent to the fasting that Muslims do in Ramadan, and but instead, in my studies throughout the years, I came across a book that talked about the traditional fasting for Catholics, and it was actually a lot more similar to the way that Muslims do right now. But anyway, how do we as Muslims fast? Well, first of all, we start at the sighting of the new moon. So the cycle of the year is based off of the lunar calendar, and we look for the new moon. And when we find it, when the new moon is present, then the next day we start to do our fasting, and then we continue it. So it's like 29 or 30 days, based off of, at the end of the month we'll look for the moon again, and when we find the new moon of the next month, then we end our fasting. So that's kind of how the timing of it goes. And then the actual fasting is from sunrise to sunset. We abstain from food, from water, and from interrelations with our spouse. And so all of those things are things that normally you can do anytime in the day, but you're abstaining from them as an act of worship, as an act of a submission to the will of God. And in doing that, you learn so much about your own self, because in the normal day, if you just even have a little bit of water, it can make you feel okay, and the pains of hunger don't really come to you. Or you can have a little bite of a snack or something like that, and you won't feel those things. So actually going a full day without eating, you'll at some point of that day you'll realize, like, oh gosh, I do feel this, and through that realization you learn things about your own self, and that's part of the process. That's really, also there are physiological changes that happen in our bodies, and these days a lot of people are talking about in the health food industries and things like that, is about intermittent fasting and the benefits of intermittent fasting. And all of what we do for Ramadan would be considered intermittent fasting, and you get all of the benefits of what you can discover about that. And it's so wonderful. So there are physical benefits, but the biggest thing is about the spiritual benefits, the self-discovery that you go through. For me, a lot of times in the first few days, that's when it's most challenging. And you have to have patience. You might be a little short-tempered and things like that. Some people are, some people aren't. And my wife typically will point out that if I'm being a little bit moody or something like that. And so those are things that you just discover about yourself, and you learn a little bit about how to manage better, slow yourself down, reflect on those things, breathe a little bit, So that's one of the just really beautiful, amazing parts of it, is that you just learn so much about yourself. Um, and then the whole thing is also what I learned in the very beginning, because I wasn't born and raised Muslim. I took it on later on when I was in my 20s, so my early 20s. So when I first started to fast, there were some things that I learned. First of all, I just, I thought, well, you just fast. So I wake up and I'd just not eat during the day and then come home from work, after the day's work, and then break my fast. And that was actually a big mistake, because I was starting late and I was ending late, And the pattern that actually helps out and does that you do a lot better with is that if you can have a little bit of something right before the sunrise, and that's what we call sahur. It's a breakfast meal that you have, and so having that meal allows for you to get through the day with a little bit more ease. And then going on beyond that, you simply go to the end of the day, and when you get to the end of the day, it's necessary to stop right when the sun sets. As soon as the sun sets, break the fast. And that, by doing that pattern, it helps so much. And there's so many wonderful, beautiful lessons during the month of Ramadan that you get. A lot of it also is connected to understanding the needs of others. And this is called, at the end of the fasting, we do the celebration, the Eid al-Fitr. And that Eid is a celebration where, before we end, all of the people who might be in need and things like that, some food or provision is shared with them so that everybody can enjoy the celebration. And so at the end of the fasting, there's wonderful community gatherings and things like that, and lots of good food shared. And that's actually one of the beautiful things, even during Ramadan. At the end of the day, when you break the fast together as a family or as a community, and you share the foods together, there's so much gratefulness. You're just naturally grateful for being able to even take that drink of water. So I'll try to make a couple more videos during Ramadan and share a little bit more about some of the benefits and the spiritual insights and things like that. But for now, we'll leave it like this. Ramadan. Welcome to Ramadan. And thank you for joining us on the Garden of Truth, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.